Hey, everybody! Welcome to Tavern Talk.
Hey, that was
Hello.
It wasn't as bad as me last week for the nerds going, okay, Russ, you're on. You're on, Russ. Go, Russ. It's
I
your
was
turn.
like, I was watching and listening, and I was doing like four things at once. I'm like, hey, we're on. Hi.
But yeah, welcome to Tavern Talk, where a bunch of us from the Tavern Knights game sit around. Wow, is that you?
Sorry.
What was that?
I was doing a sound check.
Oh, okay.
I was making sure everything was working.
So yeah, we're a bunch of us from the Tavern Knights show sit around and talk D&D for a little while. It's supposed to be like an hour. It's been about an hour and a half each time we've done it in the past. So we'll see how this one goes. But yeah, we talk about Tavern Knights, the show, our live play D&D show, every other Friday night, which will be this Friday. As you can see down below, it says join us this Friday at 7 p.m. And we'll be doing it again there. And yeah, and we're going to talk about that and then just D&D in general. If there's any questions or any rules questions or anything like that comes up that we want to address. So let's get into last week's game.
First, hey, real quick, I wanted to mention something that I noticed. A friend of mine had sponsored on Kickstarter or whatever, or contributed on a Kickstarter. It's a D&D, or not D&D, but it's a role-playing game called Coyote and Crow. I don't know if any of you guys have heard about this.
No.
It was funded in like 45 minutes or something like that. It was crazy. They were looking for 18 grand.
Oh, wow.
They're at $406,000 so far.
Holy
And there's still 24 days to go in this Kickstarter. Now, the interesting thing is it's a sci-fi, it says a science fantasy role-playing game set in an uncolonized future, which basically means it takes place in a North America where where Europe never colonized it. So it has a very interesting, like very Native American kind of theme for their setting. And it looks pretty cool. It's called Coyote and Crow. It was also created by some Native American game designers. So pretty cool. Yeah. So it's I don't believe I don't know what the system is. I don't know if it's their own system or if they're using like a 5e kind of thing. Because that's the thing. 5th edition is an open system.
Yeah, the D20 system is an open source system.
But it looks like it's like you said, futuristic though too. Like I'm looking at the character sheet, and they have certain things like art, crafting, ceremony, but then you have cybernetics and computers,
right?
That are kind of like balancing the two extremes almost. Yeah,
it looks like intelligence, strength, intelligence, spirit, agility, perception, charisma, endurance, wisdom, and will. So it is you got charisma. It looks somewhat different from D&D, at least the system and whatnot from what we're looking at. The art is beautiful, kind of from what we're seeing so far. Maybe slightly dystopian. So anyway, the book, it's a core rule book basically that you get, and depending on your pledge, you can pledge from $5, $20, $50, $100, $150 to $400 pledges. And like I said, it is already made there. They've already made their pledge, or made their goal. And that's pretty cool. Connor Alexander is the guy, a proud citizen of the Cherokee Nation. He works in the board game and RPG industry. It says nerd, lefty, punk, always striving for a kinder, more just world. So I don't know if you guys want to check this out, look into it. Looks kind of cool. I've always appreciated Native American culture and lore, being from the outside, of course, being a white guy, and but I've always appreciated it. And I always appreciated the concept of what would happen if the white man never came here, and what it would look like. So it looks pretty fucking cool. So like I said, it is an entirely different system, but honestly, I mean, if you could adapt it to like a normal like a D20 system, that could be a cool setting in itself, whether the
Mhm.
game, whatever the game mechanics are, could be a cool setting in itself. Because that's the thing. I like playing in new environments, but I don't always like learning new systems.
Yeah.
It can be. It's like you're good with this system. You got all the rules down, and then all of a sudden somebody goes, "Hey, let's play this other game," which is really cool. But
Well, yeah. So like back in the '90s, I was playing D&D, which was
Mhm.
its own system. Then
Right.
I was playing Star Wars, which was the West End D6 system.
right,
And then I was playing Cyberpunk, which was a D10 system.
right.
And then there was what the hell was it? It was one where it was a mix of all the different genres, and that had its own
Oh,
thing.
Rifts.
Rifts, yeah.
Rifts, yeah.
Yeah.
Rifts, the Palladium system, that was completely
Well, yeah.
different.
But then there was Rifts where it was you were tracking down these cubes and stuff like that, and there was all the different things all together. And they actually instituted cards along with dice rolling.
Card.
Yeah, me
Oh,
too.
gosh,
I mean,
yeah.
I started off playing D&D, but then I got into Palladium systems, which was Rifts and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and some of those games, and then getting into Champions and getting into World of Darkness, and I never got around to playing Cyberpunk the tabletop game, but I really always did enjoy it. But there were other ones too, like the Warhammer system, and because there was a Warhammer role playing game too, as well as the tabletop combat stuff, and then later on, eventually getting into Pathfinder, which is really just an extension of D&D, and is still pretty similar to 5th edition, just without the. I think the biggest change was the advantage disadvantage thing.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the largest biggest things that differentiates Pathfinder from 5th edition. But at least Pathfinder, version 1. I still don't know what version 2 is like.
I never played any Pathfinder, but
it's a great system.
I like D&D 5e. I definitely like it.
It's just such a clean system, I mean, it is getting more and more complex now that they're adding more and more stuff to it, but it's still at its base the cleanest, probably most streamlined version of D&D we've ever seen.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I just want to talk about that. Coyote and Crow looks pretty cool. I haven't sponsored it. I'm not, hell, I'm just watching it. It just went up again. Somebody just sponsored it, or somebody just contributed. But I haven't. I have no skin in this game or anything. I just said that looks pretty cool. So anyway,
cool.
Right on.
So the game, not last Friday, but the Friday before, you guys were at the Temple of the Open Mind.
Yes.
You had arrived there. You're trying to find some information. You actually went back there so that Klimbram could take her tests, her trials, which she did have.
Was that set up beforehand by you two?
Yeah, Chris and I actually role played the stuff you didn't
trials.
see on the actual trials the weekend prior, so we didn't waste any time.
It seemed like that there was something that was going on in the background, just like how naturally and seamless it progressed the story, which I thought was good because it already established, like, since you were not present with all of us, you were doing that, but you weren't having to type it out and do your thing in real time, and Chris's attention was divided.
Yeah.
It was already kind of predetermined because you already role played it like separately, and I'm guessing it didn't go well there.
Well,
it wasn't chosen
really,
that it was gonna.
That's the thing is I didn't want
well.
to take the time away from what you guys were doing and have you guys all just sit around doing nothing, twiddling your thumbs while she did her thing.
Yeah, that's why I asked, because it seemed like it went so well with that, and I wanted to ask about that. So I thought that was a really good move to go with that. It helped with the story, even though it was a long game. That portion of it, I thought went very, very smooth when it came to the storytelling, but being able to Klimbram's character, in a major way.
Yeah.
I think that it's honestly it was nice of you to have done that, but I wouldn't have had a problem if you had worked that into the gameplay for the night. I mean, it is a major part.
It saved almost an hour and a half.
Probably,
the-
yeah.
But at the same time, we weren't there.
Yeah.
That was a private thing for Klimbrum. In real life, we wouldn't have known any of that. We wouldn't like. So I kind of like the idea that there's a little bit of that disconnect. That is very realistic.
Yeah, that's true too.
That suddenly, like, Klimbrum, what's wrong? You're coming back. You can tell that something was going on, like in the background. You can see Renee's reactions to everything.
Yeah, it sucked just sitting there.
But then like coming in and then suddenly like we're all like in anticipation about what happened. And that I felt was our emotion and our reaction to that was a lot more real because you guys went that direction, and I appreciated that.
Just the sheer reaction from Lauka was
That was so funny, dude. I mean, I there's a part of me felt like she took it a little too far. Like, you know, she was just pouting. You know, I mean, she was like a petulant teenager at one point. She's like, "The bitch left me," and I'm just like, it was so funny though. I was like, God damn, she is I mean, she's her own person. She can go and do her own thing. You know, what if she was out getting laid? You don't know.
Yeah, right.
She was just like bummed out and day drinking the whole day. I think Lauka's pretty sweet on Klimbrum, honestly, which is really funny.
Yep.
But yeah, so you guys are there. You do some stuff during the day. Marikaris and Octavian went and saw the temple and looked around the temple area. Eucharia went to the tower library, and started researching things. But everybody had their whole stuff, and then you decided to meet back for dinner that night. You get back there, that's when Klimbrum comes back. And that's also where you were approached by the captain of the guard, who basically tells you that she's had some patrols go missing and wanted to hire you to go and see if you could find them and hopefully bring them back.
And here I thought that this was going to be, no problem, one and done, we'll be fine. Holy shit balls.
Yeah. We only got to the first patrol, right?
I think that was it, you know, hopefully. I don't know. I mean, unless there are more, but
no, I think it was a couple patrols, right?
There were 2 patrols that had gone missing.
And we only got to the first one, I thought.
Well, we killed a lot of zombies, and a patrol isn't necessarily big, so
you killed 4 zombies and a whole lot of kobolds. Right. So that was the thing. You tracked them down. You saw where there was a fight. You found some dead horses.
Right.
You tracked through the mountains, up into the mountains, found a cave, entered it, fought some zombies, and then wound up coming through and finding a bunch of kobolds in there as well, and fighting them along with a dark elf and a huge gray-skinned humanoid, which, yes, you believe it is a Goliath. You've heard of them.
Yeah.
They're mostly from the north, but there's some in the Crystal Mists, and you don't know of any that have ever been heard of in the Lortmill Mountains, which are these mountains.
Yeah, they're rare around here. So.
Yeah. And then along with a kobold that was casting spells and a bunch of kobolds that had shields and spears and were seemed to be tougher than the average kobolds. And that's where one of the things I wanted to bring up and I wanted to talk about was something that you had mentioned, Russ. And that
tougher
was
than your average kobold?
The gamer arrogance.
Yeah.
Yeah, my goodness.
Yeah, see, it was one of those situations where, I mean, I was guilty of it myself, and I think the rest of us, maybe Ian kind of felt it a little bit because kobold's no big deal.
I think it hit us all.
Maybe a little bit, but I mean, probably less so you and Pete and Renee, or you and Rich and Renee, because you just haven't been gaming as often as long as I have. But, you know, when you encounter kobolds, most of the time you're just kind of like, oh, okay, this is not going to be a problem. And you know, we can get arrogant, and we can get, you know, a little full of ourselves about some combats. And I think Chris purposely was like, I'm I'm gonna take these guys on a little ride here, because it was. I mean, zombies.
I honestly, I felt a little bit arrogant going in it too.
Yeah.
I felt that way. I felt overconfident going into that fight.
Well,
Let me
a
tell
kobold,
you, I really did.
A kobold is a monster you generally encounter in your first couple of levels, and you don't, then you maybe never, once you hit 5 or 6, 7, you might never see them again, because they are very low level monsters.
Even with the zombies, though.
Yeah, I mean, zombies too are pretty low level. In fact, I think zombies are even lower level than skeletons, aren't they?
No, skeletons are the lowest.
Okay, skeletons are low. So still pretty low level, and I was like, okay, kobolds. I'm not overly worried. But when they attack, and there's 24 of them, and they are attacking you, and then you've got they throw in the zombies and throw in a few spellcasters, and then you throw in these tougher kobolds, and then having to take into account the environment and what happened there.
Yeah, the environment was really what did it to us.
Yes, the environment
because
hurt
small
us.
Spaces negate numbers.
Mm-hmm, exactly. I couldn't get through. I was getting frustrated as all hell, and because I couldn't get through. I'm the fucking tank of the group right now, and I couldn't get through, because at the time we had like 2 or 3 of our party members, and then right in front of them were 2 or 3 zombies, and I had to wait until those zombies were either taken out or somebody went down or whatever before I could get into combat. I think it was a good 4 rounds before I was finally able to do
and then
damage.
Euchariah had enlarged Klimbrum too, and she basically filled that hallway.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I didn't think that it was going to be that narrow, and I thought that she would just be going in and just kind of taking down a bunch of zombies. That was before the reveal of the Dark Elf and the Goliath.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I just expected her to just kind of start plowing right through those like small kobolds, which that's where I'm saying that I was overconfident in that, just thinking like, oh, I'm gonna beef up Klimbrum a little bit, not thinking that actually hindered you.
Yeah,
I mean, you were stronger, but you were easier to hit. You went down faster. That was a mistake.
Taken out by a fucking pebble.
By a pebble, yeah.
That was a mistake on my part, because I was overconfident that was going to like help with the whole situation, and instead it confined us. It took you down, which meant now we have to try and save you, because you're like surrounded by a bunch of these things,
and big.
All it takes is a couple hits and you're gone. So we're all like,
and then Lalka tried to fireball me.
Jesus, yeah, that was the other thing. When she comes in, and she could, because of the fog of war effect, she couldn't see where
into that room
where you had landed, and she's like, yeah, I'm gonna toss a fireball, and everybody's like, no. Don't. And she's like, what? And we're like, no, you can't see. If you throw a fireball in there, there's some, automatic failed death saves. And she's like, okay.
Rich had told me too. Rich was telling me about it because he was talking about that the other day when I was talking with him. And he's like, yeah, I was sitting there going, do it.
No.
That was funny. It was definitely a learning, I think a good learning experience for everybody, and a reminder for myself that no matter what, you always go into a combat, never arrogant, always thinking that you could not come out of it, because that can totally happen. You never know. I mean, you could have had 40 fucking kobolds in there that would have whittled us down and just whittled us down. After Shield of Faith, I have a 22 AC. And so I'm kind of hard to hit for those lower level guys.
That is a really impressive AC.
At this level, yes, absolutely. Because, like I said, I'm normally 20, and then, like I said, 22 with the spell. But yeah, see, that's the other thing, man. Almost everybody's got fairly low AC for what I've been experiencing. I mean, hell, I've been watching Critical Role, and they'll be like, does 16 hit? Yeah, 16 hits. And you're like, 16? Those guys are like level 12, 13. I think they're at 13th level right now. And like, I think Ford and
Yasha.
and Yasha and I think Jester all have like 16. You know,
No, I think Jester's up to like
Just-
19.
Yeah, Jester's like 18 or 19 now. Yeah,
but Ford's only like 16 or something like that, and I'm like,
17.
man, y'all got to get some better AC, and so do we. Because, man, if you're hitting
Yasha was a 15 for the longest time.
ridiculous, I know she's a barbarian and shit. She's not really supposed to wear a ton of armor, but it's still like, man,
Well,
when you
she
get to those level
Barbarians
12,
can get a barbarians like monks get an unarmored bonus.
sure. But like I said, if you're 12th, 13th level and your AC isn't at least 18, you're going to take some hits because the
Right.
opponents that you're going up against can beat a 15 AC no problem. 16, 17.
Here's
no
the other
problem.
thing to remember, though, Russ, too. You guys' stats are actually better than most of theirs.
Oh, I
overall.
know. Oh, I know.
Yeah, we all
Yeah.
rolled really well.
Oh, I know. I have, and I've said it many times that Marikaris has probably got it was one of the best rolls I'd ever done when rolling a D&D character. I mean, and then on top of it, I took, at 4th level, I took the pluses to my stats. So he's really high, and particularly this guy's a superhero, for fuck's sake. So, and I get it. And, Matt Mercer, I'm sure, encouraged them to, I think he's encouraged all of, back in Vox Machina too, in the first campaign, to not that you don't want stats that are all, 16 plus. You want some that are lower so that, adds more variety to the game.
It also adds a
And
lot
risk.
of opportunity for role play.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes.
Especially when you have the potential of failing a roll.
Mhm.
Like a lot of times once you get up to like 10th level and you got the plus 4 to your to anything that you're proficient in or anything like that, and you're along with your plus 5 stat bonuses and stuff like that, it gets kind of hard to actually fully fail a roll.
Right. For sure. You almost got to, like you get to a point where the only way you can fail is if you roll a 1,
Unless,
Yeah.
you
These
have
kinds of things.
unless you have a halfling that takes a bountiful luck feat that takes
Bountiful
it
luck.
completely out. I would say that's probably the one drawback. It's great for combat for like those saves, but I'm starting to think that like for traditional role play, I'm going to be cutting back on that and try and like get my character to be a little bit more distracted to kind of play that out a little bit more, because I think that there were some missed opportunities. I think I just got too wrapped up in the fact that I can share that feat with everyone. So I think I need to be more aware and see where it actually makes sense to actually do it. Because I think that's actually kind of like, isn't Sam's character with not when I am not that far ahead, but Beth is a halfling, right? And
Yeah, and
doesn't
Sam
he technically have it, and he doesn't use it very much.
Sam refuses to use. He has used it once, and it was
Oh.
for a role play scenario.
Yeah.
He refuses to use it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the rest of the group will actually say stuff to him all the time about, hey, you got that. He's like, nah,
Yeah,
it's a 1.
So I almost
used
wonder,
it
like
once.
with like a role play situation, and not in like a life or death situation, but
even that's the thing. Even in
I
life
know.
and death, he refuses to
Well,
use it.
I don't think that I would do that. But I think that in a fun role play, like I said, if like Phelan is doing like a big show in a tavern or something like that and rolls a 1 on performance, I think that'll make Uriah be distracted and not pay attention or something like that, so that way he can fail that or something.
Well, you could also use it as a role play opportunity and say that you give him the advantage. You let him re-roll it, and what causes the performance to be better is Uriah gets up, starts dancing in front of him or
as an
something like that.
inspiration almost.
Yeah.
That's an
Yeah.
interesting way to go about it. Yeah.
So, but anyways, like I said, it is one of those things, always D&D fans out there, always remember to be prepared. You never know. You never know. And I mean, for all we know, sometimes you might get an angry DM that, that sees people getting arrogant and suddenly goes, oh, well, suddenly here's another 8 more kobolds. You know, this just happened to be there too. You know, after you're motherfucker. You know, and so you just never know. Because I mean, this was a rough one. This fight took longer than the dragon fight.
Yes.
No,
Yeah.
it's
Twice as long.
Yeah, the dragon fight was like maybe 4 rounds. This one was 8. And
the necromancer one was like 6, I think.
Yeah, I very rarely
the orcist one, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was our longest. The dragon didn't last that long, but this one though topped them all, I think.
Yeah, very rarely do I see, a combat go longer than the 10 rounds that some spells have, like, the length of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But one thing
this one went 8, and I was and on top of it, it happened closer to the end of the game. And so we were more than halfway through our game session when the fight started.
Yeah. And, it was about a 2.5 hour fight.
Yeah. And it was also one of those things, like, it shouldn't have taken that long. The reason why was because of the terrain. If we had been in an open field, and been fighting all of these creatures, it would have been over in half the amount of time. But because we had to get around and get by, and then people went down, we had both Octavian and Klimbrum went down.
Mm-hmm.
And
Sling stones.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, it was funny. Like, he was just Euchariah, Rich was just as mad. He goes, I just dodged like 4 spears and I got taken down by a rock. And I'm like,
Yeah, for Octavian.
Yeah. I was just glad that Ian also had some healing so that he could hit Octavian with some healing points, or the healing spell, so that he could get Klimbrum up, and I didn't have to spend my turns healing, so that I could just start doing damage.
Actually, I got Klimbrum up because a couple games ago, we had Rich Octavian put it in the Ring of Spell storing, and I've been saving that for that situation. And then as soon as Klimbrum goes down, and it was like, I went directly after Klimbrum, and I'm like, I can't, she's surrounded. I can't wait one turn for the next for Octavian to react. I need to get you up.
Right.
And I use my turn to bring you back, even though I did like 4 healing just to bring you back was, I know, going to be enough.
Better than none.
Yeah. But with how long that all those rounds went, it actually kind of makes it kind of interesting, the fact that you read through like all the spell lists, and like some of the spells have like a you don't think like a 1 minute duration for a spell, like for concentration, for example, is a long time. That entire battle was what, like 50 seconds?
48 seconds, yeah.
Yeah, so just to show, like, if you're concentrating on a spell that is 1 minute in duration, that's for the entire time. Like, it actually, like, really puts it into perspective, like, how, like, important 1 minute it freaking is to your spells.
Yep.
It's not just one turn. If it's 1 minute, you have a lot more than you realize, I think. And that's
a minute is actually a really fair amount of time. Like,
actually,
hold a plank for a minute.
Yeah.
It's a long minute.
Or if you've ever actually been in a real honest to God's fight,
yeah.
I think I talked about this before somewhere else, either on Nerds with Alcohol or here, that most fights are open, like real life fights are over in like 20 to 30 seconds at the most, because either somebody gets hit hard enough to go down, or people get pulled apart or something like that. Unless you get 2 people that are actually really good at fighting and they're not just dancing around each other, a fight is over pretty quickly. So for our combats, so that's one of the reasons why I've always felt that, for a 6 second round, that's kind of accurate, to do something in that 6 seconds, particularly when you're talking about that your characters are essentially superheroes. We're all hire characters that we know how to fight, we know how to take care of ourselves, we can run fast, we can, we have magic abilities and whatever else. So yeah, if you've got a fight that goes, the full 10 rounds, and you're in it, that full minute, Now, granted, like some things are a little weird because everything's also all happening at once too. When you really think about it, there's only so much you can simulate within a game system. So I've always felt like this is about as close to accurate as we're going to get.
Yep. So yeah, so you guys do that. You start beating the kobolds. You you get through all that. You come up against the dark elf and the Goliath. You actually drop the Goliath.
We did.
The dark elf
turned into a fucking fart.
Well, bamfed away to the back of the room. Klimbrum chucked the iron bands of Bolero at him.
Yeah.
And hit him. Wrapped him up.
Got him.
Nice. That was
pretty
good.
cool.
Thank you.
And then the next round, he popped a potion bottle and drank it, and poof, became vapor.
Yeah. That was funny.
I was so mad.
I the funny thing is too, like, I was getting really frustrated too at that point because it was getting late. It was getting tired. Originally, Stella and I were going to watch WandaVision after the game was over, and but it ran too late, and she was getting tired, and she went to bed. And I was like, so I was having a good time, but I also kind of want to watch WandaVision before I go to bed, and so then all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, we're getting close to the end of this fight, and then Pete pulls out. So, how much cubic feet is in
I'm an engineer.
this? How much can I fashion because I swear to Christ, Pete, that was probably...
Engineers are going to engineer, man.
Oh, man, that was probably the nerdiest exchange I've ever seen in a D&D game. That is saying something, brother. That is saying a lot.
Asking the cubic feet or the volume of the gases that he went into, because I wanted to encase him and trap him and
yeah, I don't want that.
When that happened, I'm thinking you know what? I think I came up with a great idea, and I was really excited to use it.
Once again, I also have to make this statement too. It was also extremely creative.
Yeah.
And a very, very interesting take on. If you had done that 2 hours earlier, I would have been fucking awesome. But I was more like, God, we got to get done with this fucking fight.
I know, but
we're all gonna die. And you're like, oh my God! It was just really fucking. It was really funny, but also like, I can't fucking believe that was one of those awesome rookie moves that I was just like, I would never have thought to do that. I would never have thought. I would never have thought, like, can I use some magic ability to trap this guy that's turned himself into a fart, basically? And I'm like, I was impressed, but I was also like, Jesus Christ, this guy's trying to math out this situation, and we just got to beat these guys so we don't all die by kobold. I mean, I swear to God, if my character had died via kobold, I'd come for all of you. That was messed up. But yeah, and it was just, but it was so, it really was great. It was one of those things that I'm impressed by your gameplay, Pete, because you are a newbie and a rookie to the game, to D&D and to gaming and stuff. But you really seem to come up with these you're thinking outside of the box kind of things.
Thank you.
Which is great. I'm sure really cool for Chris too. I'm sure, because I was looking at the look on your face, Chris, when he was saying this, and I'm waiting. I was like, how's he gonna? Because I probably would have been, are you fucking serious, kid? But you handled it well. You're like, that's not how that spell works, Pete.
I was hoping for you can certainly try, but I was going on a limb.
You could have tried, but it wouldn't have worked. And mostly the reason that is because there actually is a spell that lets you do that, but it's a much higher level spell. It's Magic Jar. That lets you encase things like gaseous beings and things like that.
Yeah.
But so a cantrip's not going to let you catch them.
No.
Yeah.
No. I mean, like I said, great thinking outside the box. But it was one of those
thinking about a box outside the box.
Outside the box. But I'm kind of like, just kill these guys so we can,
We were trying to, but then Chris pulls out this potion of like turn into gaseous. Like,
Yeah.
did he have that, or did you just throw that in there at the
No,
last
he had
minute?
it.
Really?
He actually had
planned
it.
ahead.
He had it on him. If you had dropped him, you would have found it.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah. After the game, I came upstairs and I'm like, I can't believe he fucking ghosted me.
I liked it because I'm like, okay, well, that's definitely a character we're going to see again at some point. I like the idea of nemesis. You know, I want to see. I'd like to see the Tavern
I
Knights.
feel
many,
like the spider was supposed to be one,
Probably.
but then Uriah Trevored him.
Yeah,
I did. That's right. I did. What? I think I critted against him, right?
Yeah, I ran upstairs to use the restroom, and I come back, and the spider is dead. I'm like,
yeah, you
what?
critted with like a fireball or something like
Yeah.
that, if I remember.
Well, you can't crit with a fireball. It would have been a
No,
firebolt.
it was chromatic orb.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right.
It was a first level spell that I critted.
Yeah.
And I
Incinerated him.
and I still rolled pretty well with it, so too. And then doubling it, yeah. But we still have Glassstaff out there from early on. I think that he might make a return like a lot more powerful. We have the Necromancer. We got a lot of enemies right now, I think, that we've left. We let a lot.
We have a necromancer? I know we helped a necromancer.
No,
The Orcus
one.
Yeah.
I just remember.
I forgot. So there's 3 out there that we were able to get away.
When I was in high school, I played in a campaign that was run by a buddy's, basically my buddy's mom's boyfriend, and we played in his campaign. It was a lot of fun, and but he also instituted the idea of the arch nemesis at times. And one of the guys we used to play with decks of many things. Every once in a while, we'd pull out. One of the guys had a deck, and just for shits and giggles, we play with it occasionally, and that's a dangerous thing to do. I don't know if you guys know what a deck of many things is. I know Chris is probably aware of them, but a deck of many things is basically a deck of cards, 52 cards, or maybe not 52, I think, but it's got a deck of cards, and you pull. There's a couple of different versions, but you can pull a card, and it can be either a really good thing or a really bad thing.
The void.
And some
Isn't
of the
that what happened to Grog?
Yes, exactly. Some of the good things that happen could be you could suddenly get 50,000 experience points and you suddenly shoot up 4 levels. There's another thing where you can, I think you suddenly get gifted a magic item, a high-powered magic item. There's a bunch of different things. But then there's the bad ones where like, oh, yeah, you just die. Or your soul
is sucked out.
Your soul gets sucked out, and then somebody has to go and get you. Your soul gets sent to someplace in one of the hell planes, or you could just suddenly up and disappear, which is what happened to Grog, where he got transported away. And one of them, it was called 3 Flames, I believe it is, and where suddenly the person that hates you the most hates you 3 times worse. And that creates an arch nemesis. And one of the guys had made an enemy of a pit fiend, and suddenly this pit fiend hated him even like 3 times worse. And so now this pit fiend would show up, which is a pretty high level demon, would show up and just make our lives hell. And it was really hilarious at times, but it was also like, oh great, fucking Scanderbag got us in trouble because and his arch nemesis showed up. This demon showed up again. So the idea of having an arch nemesis in an RPG can really add some really great storytelling opportunities. It's really, really fun stuff.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now, and they've changed a few, but yeah, the
deck. You're looking at a deck.
Yeah, the deck.
Yeah.
Like the moon, you're granted the ability to cast the wish spell 1d 3 times.
Yeah. Holy shit.
Yeah. But then there's idiot. Permanently reduce your intelligence by 1d4 plus 1.
Oof.
So minimum 2 points, man. All of a sudden.
You're to a minimum score of 1.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Can
you
you
can draw
even
one
speak at
additional
that?
card beyond your declared draws. And that's the thing, you have to declare how many cards you're going to draw, because once you draw the cards, the deck disappears.
Right. Yeah. And so then we, I mean, at least that's what it is now. I mean, before we used to, one of our high level mages or like a buddy of our team, of our party had one that he would just like pull out from time to time and let us play with it. And it did definitely add like an interesting element to the game. And we used auguries and various different spells to give us a better chance of pulling a good spell or a good card or not. But it was still pretty risky. I think when I pulled it, I got lucky and I got like a magic item or something. I can't remember what it was. I didn't get anything bad, but one of the other guys did. We got a couple of the other guys did. It was
there's one that's increased one of your ability scores by 2. The score can exceed 20.
I think I got that one.
But can't exceed 24. And then the sun is you gain 50,000 experience points and a wondrous item appears in your hands.
Yeah, that was one of the better ones, man, for sure. Because, fuck. You know, I mean, all of a sudden you go from level 4 to level, probably level 8 or something like that. You know, I mean, higher levels
you'd
not
probably be
as much.
7, I think.
Okay. Yeah, higher levels it's not quite as much, but that would be really good for like a low level super jump, man.
Yeah, it's all.
I get a bad card.
What's
So
that?
my luck rolls. I'd get a bad card. I'd get the you die of dysentery.
That's an old reference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you old enough for that type of reference, though?
Yeah.
The
Wait,
old
I played Oregon Trail on the little
Wow.
like floppy disks that were this big.
Back in
The little
elementary
plastic
school.
ones.
See,
I mean,
I
old
played
Mac-
Oregon Trail on the floppy disks that were the 5 and a
That were
quarter.
big,
That actually like
Yeah, that
they actually
were
were
floppy.
floppy, yeah.
The what's this that you found?
yeah, I had no idea what the fuck that was.
Yes, you knew what that was.
Not the 5.5 inchers.
Yes.
No.
Are you kidding? You found one of those and you didn't know what
Yeah.
it was?
I had no idea because
Our grandparents had that old style computer that had like the big 5-inch floppies.
I don't remember that,
They did,
Pete.
yeah.
I was 2.
Oh, my favorite game back then on that big thing was Impossible Mission. Oh my gosh.
I see. I don't even remember Impossible Mission.
Oh, you would. I need to send you. You would know it if you heard it.
I just remember playing.
Is that the
Oregon.
one that you're trying to get across like the pit?
Yeah.
Oh man.
I just remember playing Oregon Trail when I was, a kid in elementary school.
Yeah.
And
Yes,
when you
exactly.
got that opportunity, it was like the best day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
And
like the best day when it was your turn to play Oregon Trail on the computer because there's one computer in the entire elementary school classroom, or like maybe we might have had when I was going to school, like I said, we had maybe 3 PCs in the entire fucking school. So they had to be shared around. And so like, yeah, if you got the chance to sit and play Oregon Trail, that was like the best day of the year.
Yeah.
When I was on, they had a whole classroom worth. So
Yeah.
the whole class got it, but you would always name like all the characters your friends. So when one of your friends died, you would announce it to the entire class that you just died of this, and you would hear the names being labeled off and like how everyone died.
Yeah, I remember in elementary we had a specific computer room. It was the only air-conditioned room in the entire building.
Had to be.
Yeah, because it had to be, and they had 30 computers, and then then they actually got like a computer lab in the library.
Yeah.
When I was like in 5th or 6th grade.
It's just crazy that we're of that generation that saw computers being introduced into schools, Because
I remember them like putting stickers on all of the keys for teaching how to type.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I was in elementary school, like I said, we got PCs, and one of them was on a TV. Like it didn't even the one that the school got was because at that time they were like $3,000, And the first one, and that's a lot even back. I mean, that's a lot even.
That's
now,
a lot of money
even
now.
Now,
Yeah.
And so it didn't even have a monitor. It was attached to a television, and they would wheel it around in this big table, and then you would get to play with it or use it a little bit. And hell, if I remember correctly, even they still had that one in '86, and we were watching. We disconnected the computer from that television so that we could see the news footage of the the Challenger disaster.
Oh wow!
Like we actually disconnected so that we could watch and use the rabbit ears on the TV so that we could see the news.
Oh
footage.
yeah, there wouldn't have been TVs in every room yet.
Nope.
Oh no, not even. No way.
Yeah, I remember
You
when.
see, Renee, I'm old, and
Well, I
we
remember
kinda
in
got
my
off topic,
elementary when. Yeah, we did. When they installed a TV in every single room. So I was like that transition generation, because I remember like the old computers said only it was green text, green screen, green text.
Yep, sure.
I couldn't tell you anything else about it, but I remember the green text. And then when we got the computer lab in the library, we had the bubble Macintoshes, the like super colorful
The
ones.
IMAX.
Yep.
Yeah, the IMAX. Yeah.
I see. That's the thing, Chris. I mean, even though we got off topic and stuff, but a game like Oregon Trail was one of those games that really appealed to the RPG guy in me from going all the way back, because it was a game that you had to manage your resources, and you had to
You had to hunt for food.
Hunt for food. You had to do things like that sometimes we have to do in RPGs.
Kind of pick your path and
Well,
take risk, whether like how you're going to
I was
pay or ford the river or be escorted across. Yeah.
Well, and I was going to bring up like the games like Zork, which were
Zork.
that same type of thing. I mean, that was a fantasy adventure that my mom was actually a big Zork player.
Really?
She got to the point where she was addicted to it, and she would sit and play it, and she could play the entire game of Zork in less than an hour. And because she knew she had everything memorized, and she was just trying to figure out if she could do it in a shorter number of moves.
Well, yeah, that was the challenge. Is like how few moves can you win it by? Because that's the thing.
Your mom was doing that.
Yes.
It's one of those key-based like reading.
It's a text adventure.
Text adventure.
Yeah, it was all text, and it was like it would describe it to you in text, and then you'd be like, okay, go north, go west,
you read
go
Real
south.
Player One, didn't you, Renee?
Yes.
Yeah,
I did.
That was
they
like a
talk
major
about Zork in
point. It was actually the third challenge, if I'm not mistaken. Right?
Yeah, and
Wasn't
the whole third challenge Zork?
it
might have been.
Real Player, not in the movie, in the book.
Now I remember
the movie's dead to me, so.
I remember I played. I played a later Zork game called, I think it was called Beyond Zork. It was like Zork 3 or something like that. It was the first experience with Zork. And then later on, somebody showed me, well, this is the first game, and I checked it out. And I was like, oh, okay. But Beyond Zork actually had some graphics, but it was very simple, and it was just basically a map that would get exposed. It would expose more of the map as you went in the right directions. But it was still all like directed by text. You were still like, okay, go north, go west, go south. But
kill troll with sword.
Yeah, exactly. Find a stick. You'd see a stick floating in the water, and you're like, grab stick. Oh, you found a shillelagh. Oh, name shillelagh. Okay, and stuff like that. So it was, man, Zork was those early games. Later on, they actually integrated like video acting into, like, one of the last Zork games had actors and like video clips and stuff in it too. So.
Yeah, I should probably rephrase. I remember Oregon Trail on like the gateway that we had, and it was an updated version where you actually had like first person shooter when you were hunting. So there's also that.
I remember trying to hunt, and you'd have that the deer or the wolf would run by you, and you'd have to hit the space bar and to get the bullet. Yeah.
And then the dog would jump up and laugh at you. Oh wait, no, that was Duck Hunt.
Man, I had never hated a dog so badly in my life.
I remember sitting. I have never actually wanted to kill a dog before, and
Except that one?
Except in Duck Hunt, I would sit there going click, 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 click.
Fucking hate that dog.
If you ever want to play Oregon Trail, all you do is Google it. I know that there's like a website that has like all those old style like DOS type games
All the
that are like
DOS
really,
emulator.
and it runs right in right on the website. You don't have to download anything. You just have to like click it, and it'll actually run because it takes up no resources, right?
Yeah, someone made a zombie version, but in like the original game, in God, even less than 8-bit.
Yeah.
And
but the good old days.
Yeah. But they made a zombie version that's also free online.
Pretty cool.
So to get back on topic, we did, yeah, no kidding. So we did get through the fight and we ended the combat, and thankfully
you guys have not searched anything or anything like that yet. No. So you're right. You're still right there in the cavern.
And
am I so big?
Yes.
No, are you?
I would have probably like as soon as we were.
It wouldn't be for much longer, but yeah, you were.
So Klimbram being double her size. Does that just make me like normal human size?
No,
does that make me Chris size?
You're like 9 feet tall.
Yeah, am I? Okay.
Yeah.
It doubles your size or doubles your height, and like I think quadruples your weight.
I think that's what it is.
Okay.
But yeah, it's
I can find out.
You're a big dwarf.
Yeah.
Big girl.
I am.
Enlarge. Where is it?
Yeah, you were about scraping the ceiling in there. That was the thing.
Okay.
Even if Russ had popped his wings and tried to fly over you, he wouldn't have been able to.
Yeah.
Because you were taking up that entire hallway.
You double your size.
Okay.
So see, but again, that was like, I got overconfident. I thought that I was going to be doing something that was going to like Klimbram was just going to plow down all these kobolds.
We thought I was going to be the Juggernaut, and that was not the case.
I really thought that's kind of what I was envisioning, and it totally backfired. I think that it created a lot of obstacles instead, and challenged us quite a bit.
Yep. And now one of the other things that came up was the moving through friendly squares. That is still rough terrain for you, Pete.
I don't think so.
No, it is. They have to be 2 sizes larger than you for it to not be. And no one is 2 sizes larger than you.
Halfling nimbleness, I thought, was like anything larger than me, I thought I could go through.
Oh, is it a halfling trait?
Yeah, there's like specifically, and like specifically the type of halfling that he is. The Lightfoot halfling.
I'm Lightfoot. Yep, that's part of why I went with Lightfoot.
That's what it would be then. I wasn't looking at that.
I'm trying to find it right now. Features and traits, maybe? Halfling nimbleness. You can move through a space of any creature that is the size larger than yours, even medium.
Okay.
So
you are considered a small creature, right?
Yes, he is small.
Okay. So as long as it's bigger than me, I can go through without it being rough terrain. I can just treat it as like a standard. So that's a halfling trait, yeah.
Well, actually, no, that isn't the case. What halfling nimbleness is you can move through the space of any creature that is a size larger than yours. That just means you can also move through enemy squares. That's what that gives you. Reading that the way that it is, it doesn't say that it's not difficult terrain. It just says that you can move through the space of any creature that is size larger than yours. Most people cannot move through
enemy squares.
Enemy squares. You can.
But it
would still be considered difficult terrain. Because if you look up difficult terrain, it's always considered any square occupied by another being is considered difficult terrain.
If I were to go through an enemy square, wouldn't that do an attack of opportunity, though?
No.
Not if you don't leave their radius.
Yeah, it's when you leave their attack radius that you get the attacks of opportunity happen.
So only if I'm actually, like, engaged with them?
No.
Like,
So like
attacking?
if you move through their space, say they have a 5-foot reach, so they can reach the 5 squares around all the squares around
Yeah.
them within 5 feet. You move into their range. You move through their square. You move into the 5 feet beyond. Still no attacks. You move that one more square, then they get an attack of opportunity on you because you are leaving a threatened square. You are leaving the threat zone.
Okay. Why would I ever? Okay. I'm looking at it in
As
terms
a
of,
wizard, you wouldn't.
as
But
a
if you're a paladin,
or
you
a
would.
rogue that is trying to sneak up.
Yeah.
All right, I'm looking at it differently. I was reading as though like it wouldn't be like difficult terrain. I can go through anything, so it'd still be difficult terrain.
It's still difficult terrain.
Okay, well then I will make sure that from now on I count for that
Right.
appropriately.
So it is difficult terrain unless they are 2 sizes larger than you. So if they're large, then you can move through there without any
Just
penalties.
go underneath.
Yeah.
Okay. Now another thing, part of my Lightfoot is that I can hide. I can hide behind another creature that is a size larger than me. So.
It actually comes up in Critical Role.
So that's something that, like, being a Lightfoot is like.
Yeah, that's the one thing that Lightfoots get. They get a charisma score bonus and they get naturally stealthy.
So I can like hide even behind Klimbrum technically and use you as a shield if I needed to.
Yep.
Well, yeah, that means you can do the hide action, is what it is.
What's the hide action exactly? I haven't used it. So
Basically, you can
hide as an action.
Yeah, you hide
Yeah.
as an action, which basically you make a hide roll, and then they
Okay.
can't see you, so they have disadvantage if they try and attack you.
It's awesome if you're a rogue.
Yeah, because that's the other thing. If you're a rogue and you hide and successfully hide, then you can use your sneak attack on your next attack.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rogues can bonus action hide, though.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why Veth can come out and do sneak attack damage in the middle of a combat because she'll like roll hide and then she's just suddenly like disappear into whatever, and then come out with doing sneak attack.
I love sneak attack.
Tell you what,
That's in your other game, right?
That's my other character, Rosalind. Yeah.
Yeah, it's freaking nasty.
Yeah, it is. 1d6 for every level.
Well, it's
Shit
not
adds
1d6
up
per.
quick.
It's not 1d6 per level.
I thought it was.
No, it goes up. It goes up at certain levels. It's like 3d6 when you get it. And...
Oh no, the computer calculates it for me. So
All right, but still, Chris, I'll make sure to keep that in mind because I was interpreting that incorrectly.
differently.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't use it all too often. But
yeah. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, it's 1d6 every 2 levels.
Ah. Still, that adds up quick.
Yeah, at 19th level, you're doing 10d6.
Just from sneak attack.
Just from sneak
Yep.
attack.
Not including any of the other. Whew, that's.
Well, and the thing is,
It
if you
gets
crit,
nasty.
and if you crit with it, you double the sneak attack damage too.
Yep.
Oh really?
Yes.
Oh.
Yep.
That's why rogues
That's how
are
Rosalind almost
nasty.
took out a. That's how Rosalind almost took out a white dragon by herself. Because I also hid from the white dragon that had a passive perception of 20.
Whoa.
Yeah, I was on fire that night,
But yeah.
Fire!
and then it flew away. Very upset.
All right. So, is there anything else? Have you thought of anything else, Pete? That I know you had some questions before about some stuff.
Well, I asked them like last time regarding some of the feats and like the Mages Guild and the other guilds that might be out there. I guess the other thing from like regarding Tasha's like anything else like from I know that you're like looking at the Artificer class. Is there anything else from Tasha's that you're thinking of like introducing into the into the game. You know, like as a wizard, like there's like the spells that were added in, but I know that there's like some other like, you know, things that the other classes might be interested in. Are we just kind of making sure we're just taking a step back from that?
Yeah, I'm still thinking I'm not going to introduce any of the other subclasses that are in there because a lot of those I think are just way too powerful. Without modification. It's one of those where if somebody wanted to do it, we could talk about it and figure out how to probably modify it, more homebrew it.
Okay.
Take that as a base, and then kind of work from there to see something that I think would fit better in the game. Like, I can see a Twilight Cleric getting 60-foot dark vision, or even 120, but not 300 feet.
Yeah, I understand that.
Like, that's
but
great.
And I know that doesn't really apply to us, but like anything else, I know that each of the classes also get like those secondary characteristics.
Yeah, I don't like a lot of those.
And I knew, I thought that you were against a lot of those. It seemed like at first that, you know, everyone would probably be excited and want those, or if again that would be opened up to homebrew for anyone. Just
like
speaking on behalf of anyone else, like Rich and Phelan and and Sydney.
Yeah, so I know one of the ones you were looking at was the one where you could change out your cantrips. At a short rest. Which
it would have been a long rest.
Was it a long rest?
Yeah.
But still, that really changes the definition of what cantrips are supposed to be. Cantrips are supposed to be these spells that you have studied and worked on and used for so long that they're just ingrained in your memory. They're not things that you can just swap out. If it was still like the old cantrips where you were memorizing them, that's what it would be. You would be memorizing your cantrips every day. But the way that cantrips are now is you know a certain number, period, and those are always in your memory because they are supposed to be these spells that you used for training when you were first learning your skills. And they're these things that are so ingrained that you can do them without having to rememorize them because they've been ingrained in your memory.
Okay, and that's totally understandable and fair. And you know, and I do appreciate the one time that when you made that ruling, you allowed me to kind of swap out one of my cantrips for one that I think I used once in the very beginning because I didn't want another one. Just became more like useful when it came to attacking, and I used more of a utility one. So I appreciate you being open-minded to that to swap it out. Yep. But I was just curious about like the other spells, if you ever had a chance to look at them.
Honestly, I haven't had a big chance to look through a lot of those. I haven't had a lot of time. Work's been crazy.
Oh, that's fair enough. Yeah. So I'll probably like message you about it because there is one that I was like, now that we're kind of getting close to level 7, in probably the next few sessions as we battle something like a couple more big battles, I'm sure that we're going to be hitting that milestone fairly soon. That's going to be opening up, 4th level spell slots for many of us. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure that everyone that's a spellcaster starts being able to cast 4th level spells at level 7. Is that right?
I think so, yeah. Different?
So I'm starting to keep that in mind and trying to keep try and understand what direction I want to take my character. So I might message you about one of them, particularly like the new summon spells that are in there. Because I'm trying to play around with like how to actually, because my character background with the conjurer is like, a big part of that is summoning creatures, but I don't like the idea of summoning a creature to fight and die on our behalf, so I'm trying to figure out a way to, go around that. Mm-hmm. So I'll probably message you about that because I'm curious on your thoughts about it.
Yeah. Hey, Bruce, how's it going?
I guess one other question was just one question that I kind of had for everybody, other than Chris. Do you have like any backup characters in case your character falls in this campaign?
Yes.
Do you have one that is like a primary that you have like in mind?
I have a whole folder on my phone of names with class and race.
I do not.
Russ?
I think
I
that's
would-
that's a dark way to look at shit. Like I'm gonna prep for the death of my character.
I would
Well,
one day
look,
love to play Domovoy.
Considering how many times that Climbrum has dropped so far, that's a very real possibility. And I've dropped it. I've made two death saving throws once, and I came very close myself. But
I drop a lot though.
You do. You really do. And I drop easy. Like
I know what-
one major attack and I'm down. I don't get hit often, but when I do, I'm like almost down from the count.
We
right
have
away.
the same
Well, yeah,
AC.
because you're the squishy wizard, man.
I have a really high AC for a wizard. I'm a 15, and if you throw in my mage armor, that's 18, and if I throw up shield, now I'm at 23.
Yeah,
I'm pretty good as a wizard because of my high dex, but still, I have like no HP. So like one like major like spell attack that I don't meet the dex save or whatever, I'm out.
Yeah.
Well, then it's a beautiful thing about.
My AC's a 16.
Well, that's why we got to get it higher. It's
too higher than
but
what
it
I
was-
started the campaign with. I was a
Sure.
14.
Yeah, but it's
But that's
curious
why we have
that,
to-
that
that's-
Renee's got like one main backup and probably like 5 others, and Russ.
I only have 3.
3.
It's a
Well,
beautiful thing
one
about
of them I already play.
One of
I
the
play
beautiful things
her
about
in the other campaign.
one of the beautiful things about D&D Beyond is that you can make if you're paying for it, you can make as many characters as you want. So you can just keep making more alts and keep making more alts, keep rolling them up. I don't want to lose Marikaris because I don't think I'll ever roll stats like this again.
No, your next character is going to have like a 13 strength and everything else is going to be single digits.
I love
something like
Klimbrum, and I don't want to lose her.
And I don't want to lose Yukuraya. I think that he's a fun, but
I've
but at the same
painted
time-
Klimbrum 3 times. I don't want to paint another one.
But I have to say that my main character that I kind of came up with is like a backup. I'm really excited with the concept behind that.
Mhm.
That's cool.
And I'm curious to explore it. And I'm actually really curious to bounce it off Chris to see what his thoughts are on it. But I don't want to I don't want to think about it at the same time, right? Like I don't want to think that I'm not looking forward to anything happening to my current character, but I'm excited about the one that I like have in the background as well.
Yeah.
And to talk about it. But so it's like a big conflicting feeling with being able to share it at the same time.
Yeah, like one day I hope to play my main backup character that I have because I love his concept.
Yeah.
But I don't ever want to lose Klimbrum because I love her concept too.
Absolutely. I feel the exact same way, but I don't want to start discussing it with Chris because what's the point of it? But at the same time, I thought that it's very unique what I came up with, and even if it's feasible and if it'll work, but what's the point of that if it's not going to go anywhere for years and when we move on to the next campaign?
Yeah, see, Bruce Bruce just came on the chat. It just so you know, and he had been watching the game on Friday. Bruce, just so you know, we almost like the combat that we'd gotten into near the end of the game because he had to go was ridiculous. We lost. 2 characters went down. We almost got taken out by a bunch of kobolds and some zombies. It was almost embarrassing. So,
But there were a ton of them.
and there were a ton of them, and we were all
there were
boxed in.
there were a dozen kobolds in there.
Yeah, and plus like 6
Well,
zombies. And,
Yeah, a total of 6
And-
zombies, two bigger guys, and then 4.
Well,
of
and then the
those-
kobolds, half of them were.
They were not
Like-
regular kobolds.
Right,
Yeah.
4 of them were the tougher kobolds, and 1 was a
Okay.
caster. So there were 5 that weren't regular, and then a dozen regular kobolds, and then
Plus the-
6 zombies, and
plus the drow elf spellcaster and the Goliath. So yeah, it was. He does plan on finish watching it. Good, thanks, man. It did get more complicated, but I still say it was the goddamn terrain.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Is what really did it.
I will tell you this: though that cave system in the terrain was intentional.
Yeah.
And it was effective.
Those were kobold warrens. They were small, thin caves made for kobolds to get through easily, but not larger creatures.
Sure. And like
I just
said,
realized what I just looked up what I get at level 7. I get stillness of mind at 7. I'm excited.
Was that
Stillness
give
of
you
mind.
immunity to certain things?
I can spend an action to will frighten and charm out of my body.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
No more succubus charming you
Yeah.
Nope.
to smack you, Gariah.
Yeah. And like I said, you know, Pete, normally enlarging the fighter is usually a good thing. Usually
Yeah.
that's
It was something that I
positive thing to do.
And it was something that I think I learned that session. Like I was like early on, I think I was like going through and learning like all the spell scrolls that I collected. So I hadn't had a chance to use it, and this is our first battle, and it's like I wanted to use something new, and it's like, oh, perfect time. And like Renee said, I expected Juggernaut to be going through,
Yeah.
plowing through a bunch of like small little kobolds, but didn't turn out that way.
Well, and like you were asking though, Pete, you were asking them about backup characters. I'm going to tell you, I have 2 characters already planned for if and when I ever get to play 5th edition. I have never actually gotten to play.
You've never played 5th edition, have you?
I've never played in a 5th edition game. I've only run 2 5th edition campaigns, but I've never actually played in it. We've tried convincing our one buddy that's running a 3.5 campaign to switch to 5th, but he doesn't want to because he's already converted it once from 2nd edition because it's it's Dragonlance. So the most recent stuff is actually in 2nd edition. So he updated it to 3.5. He originally was doing it in 4th, and then updated it to 3.5.
4th edition.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe when they finally release the Dragonlance, the 5th edition Dragonlance stuff, then maybe that'll give him the opportunity or give him
that's my hope.
The impetus to advance it, because that's the going rumor. You know, that's one of the rumors that fairly strong rumor that people are saying that probably this year we will see a Dragonlance 5th edition supplement, which will be one of the ones that I will certainly be picking up.
Because, I'll pick it up. It's not my world, but it's one I'll pick up.
It was, it was, in my opinion, Dragonlance was the first true example of advanced Dungeons and Dragons, because it was very much encouraging you to get it serious with your role playing, to really watch what your character did and how it affected, because it could dramatically affect what happened with your power and your spells and your whatever your abilities as a character.
Bruce said he's here in Spelljammer too, which is one I'm hoping it's not. If they want to pull that out later, that's fine, but Spelljammer was never my jam.
Dude, I thought Spelljammer was fucking cool because it was, back when it came out, it was one of those things that was like, ooh, magical space travel? I guess I just never really conceived of that. And I was just like, dude, and you could take one of your D&D characters from one world and take it to another? Fuck yeah, I'm in, man. Some really fun stuff.
Yeah, I'm still hoping for Greyhawk
concept. Well, Greyhawk is the original, wasn't it? That was the original D&D setting, so that would be cool too. I mean, we've got Ravenloft.
Yeah, we're in Greyhawk, but that's not 5th edition. That was the last time they did Greyhawk was 2nd.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Dark Sun was cool, Bruce. Dark Sun, I never got to play Dark Sun either, and I thought that cool setting because it was the first time they had actually taken fantasy and really tweaked it in a really weird, different direction.
Yeah, I didn't like Dark Sun because it was too heavily influenced by psionics, and I hate psionics.
Yes, but they did introduce 10th level spells in Dark Sun, and those were like, nuking a city from a distance kind of spells. It was crazy. Those were so intense. I mean, that was the thing about Dark Sun. You didn't have one character. You had a triumvirate of characters. And because it was such a harsh setting that you had to have multiple characters ready and be playing them, because
talk about having backup characters.
Yeah, it was essentially having backup characters because you never knew. Oh yeah, and Brom. Brom was also the artist. He was the art director for Dark Sun, and he was instrumental in kind of like creating the look and a very very dark kind of just very alternate kind of fantasy. It was I dug it. I thought it was really cool. But I would love to see Dark Sun. I would love to see Dragonlance, Spelljammer. Man, Spelljammer. I think Spelljammer is one of those ones we never fully tapped into well. You know, I didn't know too many people that had played a lot of Spelljamming campaigns. I knew people that were like that agreed that it was a cool concept, but not too many that actually got into it because it also introduced like combat between space vehicles and there was I just really dug that it was taking these magic creatures out into space, which was normally a sci-fi setting, and what would they run into? I mean, it wasn't just illithid and things out there. They could run into, what if they ran into a spaceship that was a sci-fi spaceship? That would have been fucking badass as hell.
I mean, when you go back to first edition, even the Expedition to the Barrier Peaks, there was a module S3 where you went to the Barrier Peaks in Greyhawk and you basically explored a downed spaceship, and you found things like laser pistols and things like
first
that.
edition?
In first edition.
You know what? Wow. I think I kind of remember this, and it was kind of cool. But the thing about it was like you could find a laser pistol, but it had like 20 shots.
Yeah, it had so many charges.
Because you had and once it was done because there was no way to recharge it.
Well, it's the same way that wands worked back then too. Was you had like so many charges when you got a wand, and they didn't recharge every day like they do in Fifth.
Right. Exactly. You had to either have them recharged or they were done. Yeah.
Is that a new thing in Fifth where they have like at the dawn they recharge like 1d6 plus 1 every day?
Yep. Every one before the, well, I don't know about fourth because we didn't play it enough, but in 3.5 and before, you had so many charges. Usually it was 50 or less. Usually you rolled 50. Like a D100 to see how many charges were left in the device, and then that was how many you had. Period.
Yep.
Oh wow. Yep. Interesting. So that's completely new for Fifth because like take my magic missile wand. Like I am very, and I'm thinking same thing with Lauka's spider staff, right? I am very careful with how many spells that I use out of that charge because I think it's got like 7, and when you get to the last one, you have to roll a 1d20, and if it's a 1, the item shatters and it goes away. And I'm pretty darn sure that my lucky feet will not help me in that situation. So I always make sure to never use that last spell slot.
It's usually the safe bet, But yeah, Bruce said wands used to start at 100 charges.
But you didn't know how. That was when it was brand new.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
And usually when you were finding a wand, it was used, and so you'd roll like a D100 to see how many charges were left on it.
If I remember correctly, I think there were rules for recharging wands, but it shit got expensive,
Real expensive.
You're essentially casting spells into this wand to recharge it and stuff. So, but yeah, the versus the S modules were great. What was special about them, Chris?
They were a unique set of modules. Let me look them up real quick. First edition S modules. Because I don't remember which ones were all in there. Yeah, so Tomb of Horrors was S1.
Oh well, shit. Arguably one of the greatest modules they ever made.
Yep. Let's see. S modules.
I don't know anything about it, but I've at least heard of Tomb of Horrors.
Yeah.
Tomb of Horrors. Okay, so it's Tomb of Horrors, White Plume Mountain, Expedition to the Barrier Peaks, and the Lost Caverns of Sojkanth. So they were all very classic modules.
Okay.
Sojkanth is probably the one that's least known, and 3 of the 4 of them were actually written by Gary Gygax.
I actually saw an ad today, another Kickstarter. The guy that wrote the Dungeoneers Survival Guide, or the Survival Guide, Dungeoneers Survival. It was one of the classic second edition hardcover. I guess he's writing a new book. Douglas Niles, actually. I think it was Douglas Niles. He actually made because he also wrote novels, but I believe he wrote the Dungeoneers Guide to Survival or something like that. He's writing a new 5th edition book. It's being printed by another publisher, but I saw the Kickstarter for that today. I'll see if I can find it.
So, of those 4 modules, Tomb of Horrors is ranked the 3rd greatest adventure of all time.
Okay.
And Barrier Peaks is ranked the 5th greatest adventure of all times.
Did you ever play through the Tomb of Horrors?
Yes.
Did you really? Man.
Yeah, are you bringing it to 5th edition for us?
It exists in 5th edition, actually.
Really?
Yeah. Well, no, actually, they recreated. They created a different one. It was the Tomb of Annihilation, is what it was. It's actually an updated version of the Tomb of Horrors.
Yeah, it was nasty, man. I mean, it was a really hard.
It's a level 10 through 14 adventure, and it's all traps.
Yeah.
Well, I felt that what we just went through with Stone Tooth, you said that was an existing module, right?
Yep.
And I felt that was a challenge of its own because it was like boom, boom, boom. Every single time we turned a freaking corner, there was something waiting for us. You turn it, and then there's these bats on the ceiling. You turn another corner, there's these
roper.
There's a roper. Then there's these there's this animated armor, and then there's these guys that are trying to do the smith shop, and then there's the succubus. I know that you added in the whole background of the Orcus.
Yeah, the Temple of Orcus,
which I thought was amazing, and it really challenged us and threw us all completely for a loop, because I think we went into that fight not fresh off of a short rest or a long rest in any way.
Yeah.
So that's what made that so challenging. And then on top of that, as soon as we're done with that, there's a dragon. But
yeah, but you guys got a rest between that and the dragon.
We did.
We did have a rest between that. Yeah. Bruce was saying there was a box set that was returned to the Tomb of Horrors.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
And I know they've done White Plume Mountain as a 5th edition module because it's part of the Tales from the Yawning Portal. But all right, well, I think that should probably wrap it up for tonight. We're getting close to an hour and a half, so.
Yeah, unfortunately, we were in a pretty good time with all the.
So Russ, you need to think of a backup character because he's got a slew of them ready to go.
I have 3.
My rule for backup.
Whom I play in another campaign.
My rule for backup characters: if you ever have to play a character, if your character dies in combat or dies in a game, and you have to play a new character, you should always play a character that's totally different from the first character you played.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
And so if I were to play something like that, he'd probably be like a rogue or something, since we don't have one.
There are 2 things that I've heard. One very recently and one not so recently, but that I've always loved about the idea of another character, and that is, one, there was I heard a story about a kid who was 10 or 12 years old playing D&D, and his character got killed quickly. He was still first level or something like that. His character died. And the person running it was kind of worried about how he would take it, but the kid just grabbed a pencil, grabbed his character sheet, wrote Junior next to it, and said, "I'm here to avenge my father."
I heard of that. I heard of that one. That was awesome.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's fantastic. The other thing that I've heard
nice.
is that with the new D&D movie coming up, they said that what they need to do is have someone get killed off and then have the party meet them as a different character in the next scene.
That would be amazing.
Now, if this D&D movie was really meta like that, it would be so fucking awesome. But I think it's basically, I think
You
it's
think they're gonna do it like the last D&D movie?
No.
They're
no,
not.
no. But if it was like meta like that, that'd be awesome. They did just announce they announced who the villain was. Who had the cast who they cast for the villain, which was what's his name? British actor.
That narrows it down.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, there's 15 of them.
Yeah. Yeah, you can just do the math, you know. No, it's not Cumberbatch, but that would be hilarious too. I mean, the first D&D movie actually had a couple of big stars in it.
I remember watching it and I enjoyed it, but
you also
didn't
didn't
watch
know.
it. But I had no frame of reference, and I know it like to now. I know it had nothing to do with D&D.
When I look it up, there's only
Hugh
two
Grant.
people.
Hugh Grant.
Oh.
What?
Yeah, see, right now, the only cast, when I look up D&D movie 2022, it's Chris Pine and Regé Jean Page.
Regé Jean Page. No, yeah, Chris Pine, Regé. If you look up on IMDb, you've got those two, plus also Sophia Lillis, Michelle Rodriguez, Hugh Grant, and Justice Smith.
Okay.
It also doesn't say who's playing what, but I'm excited because it does seem like they're actually they're being serious about this. The writing credits are
they can't fuck up this movie like they fucked up the ones in the past because D&D has never been bigger.
Right.
Exactly.
The fan base is 8 times the size it used to be.
Right. They are giving Dave Arneson and E. Gary Gygax writing credits since they created the game, essentially. But John Francis Daly and Jonathan Goldstein are the writers and directors. And John Francis Daly, you know him from Freaks and Geeks and Bones, and he's he was a child actor. He's a huge fan of D&D and comic books and stuff like that. So hopefully they will be doing good things for this movie. It can't be worse. It couldn't be worse.
Well, when they made the
first one was awful.
Well, I think that was early 2000s.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I heard of D&D, but at the same time, I never played it. I never knew anyone that played it at the time. It's not like today, like as Renee was saying, how mainstream it is now, and how popular and how much it's grown, especially over the last 5+ years.
It's cool to be a nerd now.
Yeah, it's very cool to be a nerd.
It's not like how it was 20 years ago when they made that movie.
I just
slapped on the D&D logo onto a fantasy movie, essentially.
I'm honestly surprised that it was 2000, Pete, being the nerdy engineer that you are, that you didn't know anybody that played D&D.
You assume we had a lot of friends.
All right.
I know I had like my 3 friends and that was it.
I had like 1 or 2, and they were usually shared by my brother Rich. Yeah, and they were not nerdy. They just happened to be the people that lived closest to us.
Yeah.
At the time,
yeah,
we didn't
were
have
all like
friends.
a half a mile away.
Yeah,
with the exception of Ross, who lived behind us.
But it was just how it was. I know that if I was introduced to it back then, I would have ate it up, but just never came across it.
It never crossed our path.
I wish that I could, and like my kids, honestly, like they're like very interested in it. They're 8 and 11 years old. They keep asking me like, "Hey, can we play D&D for like not the ways that I've like DM'd for them with like the kid version or my like Harry Potter version for Halloween? They actually want to play like the real thing." It's like, and I was thinking about like it'd be cool to like do the how you introduced it to us. So you run this campaign with Phandalin and Wave Echo Cave, and that I was like, I know that I can't do it with just 2 of them. it would be very difficult is like maybe when they get a little bit older, when they're like 13 and like 10, 11 years old, it may be a little bit better. But an 8 and an 11-year-old by themselves doing something for real, it would be a lot more difficult to actually progress it and get them to understand it.
It's
by themselves.
I started when I was 9 with the red box set, which was much more basic than what even 5th edition is.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where you have to have they have to have the interest in the setting. So I was a huge fantasy nerd even at 9 years old.
You have to be into fantasy, right?
Yeah, you have to be really be into fantasy, and you have to be able to sit for extended periods of time. Granted, you can do things with them where you do a little bit of that and then you go do something else just to so that they don't lose focus, type of thing.
And they're young and they have ADHD, and I could probably keep them focused for a little bit longer. But wouldn't it be difficult to have it to like do it with just 2 of them, like 1 DM and 2 players? It seems like something you would need to at least have a minimum of 3.
I would say 4 is best.
4 would be more ideal, but just 2 of them, least. And 2 of them being so young. If 2 of them older, I can probably get away with it. I feel like I can probably tweak it enough to where it's like a little bit easier, but not at their age. I'm saying like you guys need to be a little bit older before I can try and pull that off and make it like really worthwhile and sell it to you for what it's really worth.
There's a lot of things you can do for low number of party players and stuff like that. I think one of the best parts about D&D is the socializing and the being able to play with your friends and stuff. So what would honestly be cool is to play with your kids, maybe get them to get 2 of their friends to come by too, and then you turn it into a social thing, and then you're playing with. So you got 4 players and.
Well, again, though, you're talking after COVID.
But as I said, they're asking me now, and they want to play it, and we spent like 80% of our time playing this game now during COVID, all virtual, and they aren't seeing their friends except for very small periods of time, for like an hour outdoors. So maybe when things get a little bit more back to normal, and they have friends that would be interested in it as well. But right now, I keep on just telling them I'd love to. Trust me, I am excited. Seeing you guys be excited because that I do it, and the 2 sessions that I did with the kid version of D&D and the Harry Potter one, they loved it. They had a lot of fun with it. They want to know what our version of it is because they know that it's a lot more involved. I would love to share that with you. It's you got to wait a little bit longer before you can do that, and maybe get a few more people in there, or a few more kids involved. Maybe I can convince Rich's girls to do it. And,
there you go. Yeah.
And we can have a kid version of it.
Make a family affair.
As soon as we can do it. But the cousins, my 2 boys and Rich's girls, they're all around the same age. They're between 7 and 11 years old.
I don't see Beth doing it.
I do.
I don't know.
I do.
I see Beth like Lauka.
Yeah, that's it.
You can princess it up enough to where I think that we can get her involved.
Is that my gem?
Well, guys, we should
wrap it up.
Should probably wrap it up.
Yeah,
hey,
sorry.
Bruce, thanks for joining us, and
thanks
thanks for everybody else that joined us too.
Yeah, everybody else. There's some other people who were in the chat that watched but didn't really chat. But guys, we always welcome interaction in the chat room. Bruce, again, we're gonna have you on. We got to figure out a time, and we're gonna have you on Nerds with Alcohol. I'd love to bend your ear, talk to you about gaming, particularly considering the fact that you have been gaming for longer than most of my other friends. Bruce is a few years older than me and Chris, and he
started D&D before me.
Yeah,
wow.
He's been playing since the very beginning. It's been great to hear his take on the different versions and stuff like that. Honestly, a very cool thing to kind of check out if you are into D&D and you're also like Rick and Morty. There is a graphic novel that is Rick and Morty versus Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah,
There's
it's
actually
on my wish list. I haven't
there's
bought it yet.
actually a
Huge Rick and Morty fan.
Well, there's also a D&D supplement, like where you can play Rick and Morty D&D. But there's also
they have it on D&D Beyond even.
Right. But they also had like a comic book, like a 4-issue comic series that it's collected into a collected edition. And the cool thing is Rick is a huge D&D guy. He's a huge D&D nerd, loves it, wants to get Morty into it. And he slowly, what he does is he introduces Morty. Each issue is essentially a different version of D&D. Like the first issue is him playing first edition and Morty being really frustrated with it. You know, this got what? And then playing second edition, then third, and then finally, and I think they even make the joke of, we don't talk about fourth edition. And I haven't finished reading it. I read like the first part of it. I've got it at home, got it here in the house. But the last one is the whole family getting together and playing like a virtual reality version of 5th edition D&D. And so it's pretty cool. He could run that game for us too. Bruce is a hell of a gamer, man. I've played in games with him before. He's a hell of a gamer. Knows the rules backwards and forwards. And
So,
I think we played.
you know, kind of curious about that. Just, I'm sorry, not to, I know you want to stop, Chris, but have you ever thought about like having like guest characters on the show?
But I want to get things established first.
Okay, fair enough.
And get to a point where we can do that. There's a point coming up where I was thinking about the possibility of it.
Okay.
But it's a matter of talking to somebody, getting them to come on, and probably come on for multiple sessions, because it's not going to be like there's very little that'll be like a one and done type of thing with the.
Yeah.
But yes, we need to wrap things up. I got to get up early for work tomorrow, so.
Yeah. Great talking to you guys. Guys, be sure to check us out this Friday, 7 o'clock for our next
7 o'clock
Eastern time, our next installment of Tavern Knights. We will be having a hard out at midnight. Chris and I just talked about this because it ran a little long last time. We were all getting tired and whatnot. So the nice thing about digital gaming is that we can have that. We can just kind of come right back to it and not have to worry about resetting up the map and everything. But hard out at midnight.
Whose turn was it? What round were we in?
Tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, as usual, Nerds with Alcohol. Be sure to swing in, check us out. Every Tuesday.
Lots to talk about tomorrow.
Lots to talk about. WandaVision. We're going to be talking a lot about the WandaVision season finale, so there will be spoiler talk. If you haven't seen it, you might want to watch it before, skip that part of our show when we start to talk about it. So, among other things, a lot of talk about WandaVision.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, and then you can follow us on all the social medias too. Facebook, Nerds with Alcohol Show, Drinking Nerds on Twitter and Instagram. So
all the stuff, all the things, all the stuff. All right.
If you miss any of it, it's everything's up on YouTube as well. If you look for Drinking Nerds or Nerds with Alcohol, I think both of them will find it. So.
And you were able to save our last show, Chris?
Yes, because I ran out of room. I actually wound up being able to, and I'll talk about this. You ran out of room
on the hard drive.
Yeah.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I filled up my terabyte hard drive, mostly with video. And so what I did though was I deleted a bunch of stuff off, and then went back and played it on Twitter and recorded it, or on Twitch, I mean, and recorded it, and then just put it up because it's still on Twitch. So I just recorded the entire episode off of Twitch, edited it up, and then put it up on YouTube.
Awesome. All right. Well, guys, once again, you can find us on all the places you find
if you're
quality podcasting.
And if you guys aren't followers here on Twitch, please give us a follow. We could use it. So
we are at 37. 37. We only need 13 more. I need 13 more followers on Twitch. If only we could transfer some of our followers from YouTube to this. That'd be easy. So check us out, guys.
Yep.
So Chris, on that note.
On that note.
Until next time.
I guess we'll do this too.
We'll do this
might as well.
It's Slancha.
Sancha.
Good night.
Have a good night, everybody. See you Friday. I'll actually see you tomorrow night. I'll see you guys Friday.
Yep.
We'll see you later,
night.
Bruce.
Week,
good
everybody.
night. Thanks, Bruce.